Hi, I'm Jason Wilkinson, and today I want to show you how to replace this part right here on a Chevy Express van. In my case, the inside of it started breaking off and it was just very, very loose, and it wasn't working very well, and the kids were having a hard time getting it open and closed. Also, it wasn't locking very well, which was a problem because my wife uses the car and she puts her purse sometimes in it, and that was scary, so it's time to get it fixed. This is actually the second time I'm doing it, which is why I'm making this video, because the first time I broke it. I broke this part when I was putting it in, so I'm going to show you how to avoid that, hopefully. And anyway, let's get going. The main tools you're going to need for this is the T30 screwdriver, which I had to go buy one at AutoZone, I think, and it's one of those star screwdrivers, and you need that to get off some of the parts to be able to get to this thing. Also, you're going to need a socket, and the one that seemed to fit, which surprised me, was the number 10 metric one. I thought for sure that these would be English, and maybe they are, but none of my English ones worked, and this one, the number 10, worked. The first step in getting this off is actually to get the paneling on the inside off. And it's all held together by these little snaps. So it's usually you just pull it off, but it can be a little bit tricky. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so the first one you have to take off is this top one, and there's tabs on, there's these kind of simple tabs on either side here, and there's some on the bottom, and I think there might be some on the top, although I might have not done a very good job of putting those back in. But you just kind of pull them off. You see what those look like right there? They kind of sit in the window. These tabs are actually, they can come out. I don't want to take them out though, because I don't want to lose them. Tabs on the bottom are different. They go into these slots right here, but it should be relatively easy to take off. Say that this is one of the harder parts because it's really hard to see that little cotter pin that's in there. And the first time I did it, I pushed it out and I lost it for a little while, and it took me about 30 minutes to find it because it fell on the ground and it was bad. So try to be careful not to lose that. It's what's holding the handle on the door. So the easiest way I found was to just get in there and push it out. And of course, it fell down again, so I gotta find it. This is what the cotter pin looks like. Of course, I dropped it, it fell in a crack, and I had to search for it again. Try not to drop it, try to put something underneath so that when it drops, you can find it, but this is what it looks like. Now that we've got the handle off, we can pull this out relatively easily. You can see the various clips that keep it in there. You really don't have to pull out much beyond that. This part down here is the part that I broke earlier, but it doesn't seem to matter that much, so I'm not too worried about it. The reason why we got the panel off is because we have to take this part off. And the only reason we have to do that, we don't have to take it out, we have to take it down so that we can reach the screws for the handle. Now the screws for the handle are here and here, but this one is completely blocked by this mechanism. So we have to just unscrew this to get to those the screws here and here. In order to do that, there are 4 screws. This is where the T30 star screwdriver comes in handy. There's 4 screws here and 3 screws here, and we'll have to take those off. Okay, once you get all the screws out, this thing can go up and down, and you're now able to reach those screws in there. So if it's already broken, you can just probably pull it off. But now you can reach those screws. Now one other thing to note is after you get the screws from here and from here off, there are two places where it's connected. It's connected to the key with like a little metal rod, and it's connected to the actual latch that latches the door to another metal rod at the top. And you'll be able to see that once you pull it back. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show it because it's so dark in there, but we'll see. Okay, the part that we need to push out is this little thing right here that is connected to the latch, and the other one, I don't think we can actually show it. There we go. Okay, now this is the part that I just pushed out, and I just used some pliers to push it through. It's connected to the latch, but it's the little part that I pushed out. There's another one down that I'm not going to be able to show you because it's beneath everything. You're going to have to feel underneath there, possibly to push it out, or just unscrew it and then push it out after you take the latch out. All right, after we get the screws undone from the inside, you should be able to take this out, and you can reach in there and possibly pull that little thing that holds it to the lock on there. After you do that, oh, okay, it may be a little bit tricky to get out, but here are the two pieces that will need to go into, this is how it is. These are the two pieces that are connected to things. This one's connected to the lock mechanism. This one's connected to the actual door mechanism. So you get this one out, you can pull it, you can reach in there and pull on that, like that way. If you can get it loose, then that should be okay. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to have to take off this little tab. This little tab is pretty easy to take off. You get like a pliers or something and just pull this tab off, and then the whole lock mechanism comes out. You can stick it in the new part. Now for this part, you just push it in this little tab there. You should be able to push it in. Alright, you can get that out. After you push this little tab part in, then you can just push the whole thing out. You got your lock mechanism right there. You got your old part, which we don't need anymore. For the new part, I'm just going to put the lock mechanism in there again. Then I'm going to get this part that was in there previously and stick that in as well. Slides right on. Goes in there. Everything looks good. So how this works is you have this metal piece that is on the inside of the door. You have the metal piece that's on the inside of the door, and you have this piece, and this clamps it to the door. So this has to go inside, and this will clamp it to the door. So I'm going to have to put this in first. Okay, once I was able to get this in here and put the metal plate on, I was also able to, before I put it in, I was able to get in the little connector that connects the lock on the bottom. I didn't get the top one, so I'm going to have to do that from the back side. But once you get all that done, next thing to do is to put the screws in to secure it to the door itself through that metal plate. So I'm going to do that next, and then I'm going to connect, or I may connect, I think I'll connect the top thing first because I can see it right there. We'll connect that first, and then we will screw it all back together. Now, one word of caution though before I go is that the first time I did this, when I screwed in these two through the back here, I screwed them too tight and broke one of them, and so that's why I'm doing this again. But so don't screw them too tight. They have to be pretty tight, but be careful, because too tight means you break those things. They're just plastic, so be careful. Okay. Alright, so I was able to get it in. I actually had to push out, to get it back in, I actually had to push out the bottom little connector that was connected to the lock, because it wouldn't go up. In order to get it down all the way, to be able to screw in this thing, I had to undo it. So now but fortunately I knew where it was, so I could push it back in again from the back here, and that seems to work out okay. I've got both of them connected on the top and the bottom. Yeah, not quite actually. Disaster.
I like the song Sail.
You like the song Sail?
Mm-hmm. It's the one that the Sturge band
All right.
plays.
Got them both connected. It's hot. Texas heat. Now I'm going to screw all of that stuff back in. This is solid. This is solid though, so that's good. Lock is in there. Oh. Now to get the handle back on, get the little cotter pin clip and you put it in there before you put it in, and then you should be able to just push this on and it'll lock once it gets to that point. So I'm going to do that right now. After I push all the panels back in. Okay, now I'm going to test it. I've got it all back together. I'm going to test it before I put the final panel on. And it works, which is good because I don't want to do this again. Alright, so that's the end. Hopefully that was helpful. I looked at a bunch of other YouTube tutorials and they were trying to be helpful, but they weren't that helpful, so I'm hoping this one was a little bit better. Still, it's hard to do all that stuff with the camera. But hopefully you got something out of that, and good luck.